We have Houston in the house. Calgary, yes. Canada, represent Toronto in the house. We have St. Lucia in the house. Wow, wow, wow. I love this. I love this. Oculus Nation. The spirit is very, very high. Of course, we have Trinidad in the house. We have Singapore. We have New York City, London, Ontario. Continue. Jamaica, yes. Thailand in the house. Wow. I wonder what time it is there now. This is awesome. Awesome. Pickering, Ontario in the house. We have Venezuela in the house. This is amazing. Of course, we have Toronto, Canada. We have the U.S. I love it. Continue to represent everybody. We have Winnipeg in the house. The week after week, and I see we have none other than our forensic networker, our CEO and founder as well, in the house. So I think it's the perfect time to get started, everybody. I hope that you're messaging. Let's blow up all the chat rooms. Make sure that you have everybody on here. This is a call not to miss whatsoever. All right, so we're gonna get started here. I would like to first of all start off with our amazing CEO and founder, the visionary behind Oculus Nation. For those of you who are not familiar with the Forensic Networker, I just want to share a little bit about the incredible. I can't even finish talking about all the amazing things that he represents. But just to tell you a little bit about who this incredible CEO and founder is none other than Mr. Ramin Mesgarlou. He's the founder and the creator of the Forensic Networker, rated as the world's top master trainers and mentors 2000. The ultimate focus and target of the Forensic Networker program is to help people escape from 9 to 5. And I can attest to that. I am one of the people he's helped over a year and a half ago with only 2 short years to be able to escape from my 9 to 5 desk. Forensic is the solid foundation that is absolutely necessary to succeed in direct sales. However, as Ramin so empathetically points out, the Forensic Networker program is not for the light-hearted sometime. It is not like your status quo MLM 101 training. Forensic is the industry's first serious business plan for those who look to succeed within 18 to 24 months. Ramin built 4 multi-million-dollar businesses in network marketing as a master distributor before becoming a self-made millionaire at the age of 25 and before founding his own network marketing business, which is Oculus Nation. Now, as you can see here, we don't just have the Forensic Networker here that we're used to every week. We also have none other than, I forgot to make our COA post here. All right, so we also have, as you can see here, a very special guest tonight, none other than Mr. John Solleder. So to do justice here as well, I want to say, mention some of the incredible things that our amazing guest has done here. John Solleder has been a top earner in his industry for 36 years. He has held the top rank in 4 network marketing companies in that time. Now, he has also consulted for some of the leading brands in the industry as an outside consultant. He's also, as you can see his background, he's also, of course, the host and the founder of Leaving Nothing to Chance, and also the writer of a book as well. I've listened to and
recording in progress.
Make sure that you do that as well. So I would like to pass the phone back to none other than our CEO and founder, Mr. Ramin Mesgarlou.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Efra, for that awesome introduction. John, how are you, my friend?
I am terrific. It is a pleasure to be here, my friend, to be around some of you great leaders and distributors all over the world. I mean, I can't believe that if they really knew you and I, would they really get out of bed in the middle of the night to listen to us? That's my question, but I guess they would. So we better do a good job. Some of these folks rolled out of bed to be with us. Thank you all for doing that. Thank you all for being here.
Well, actually, they are tough customers because forensic come from a forensic camp. But we got the best of the best tonight, so we're gonna be fine. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be so much fun for you guys on the call tonight. We got how we doing with YouTube. YouTube is good. This live is on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As usual, everybody, like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and let YouTube knows what the action is. And comment, share with a couple of networkers. And what a treat. John, good to have you here, my friend. Thank you for doing this.
It is my pleasure. You know, I will do anything for you, my friend. And I am just astounded at all the tremendous things that you have done over these many decades that we know each other. I mean, when you think about it, we were both young guys when we met.
Yeah.
Here we are all these years later, still doing it, still leading, and still trying to help as many people as we possibly can to get the message that they can do what we've done.
We know we're crushing it, John, you and I, and from two old timers, but you don't see them anymore. Like, I look back and the people that you were a legend when I got in. You're already up there. We're going to talk about that later. But, some of the other guys that, got in before me and then they made a lot of money, but I don't see them anymore. And I know who they are. I know what they're doing, and they're just not in the industry anymore. And some of the old timers that are still hanging around, they're just busy writing books. They're not really building, haven't built anything for a long time. But you and I are on the field. We're just building this. I might be in the back behind the desk, but everybody knows I'm involved in every training, that's on Tuesdays. Sanaz, vice president of the company, she still does the product training. I'm still with my leadership core. So yeah, I'm very much hands-on, and I know you are the same as well. So, folks, let me tell you a story about me and John. I know we don't have enough time to go. You guys are going to love tonight because we're all about stories. And John, sometimes I share some of my stories with the team, and they just love it because it's not some of the biggest lessons you learn is from other people's experiences, not necessarily more fact and data and those type of things. There's room for those, but tonight we're going to have a lot of fun. Folks, when I first got into MLM, I was 20 years old, and the first trip I made was to the head office to see the world headquarters. It was a fairly new company at the time, and it was my first company. Nobody ever showed me Amway or Circles before. That was it. And everyone was talking about this young guy from New York who was making about $100,000 a month. It's 1990. That's a lot of money, at any time. It's a lot of money now. And this young man, he's the only professional guy they had. Everyone is kind of casual, but he was a guy in the suit. But what we really, really got we got connected, me and Reza and him, was because he saw my ear. He said, "Oh, you're a wrestler." I said, "Yeah," but he was a wrestler. And boy, after that, I don't think you and I ever talked to MLM after that. It was always wrestling.
It still is.
It still is. That's true. That's true. Because John and I, he invited me to his podcast. I think I put this out today, and I told some of you guys to go and join his new YouTube channel. And so even I was on his podcast, and half the conversation we had before the podcast was always about wrestling and Olympic trials. And yeah, he's just like I am. So John, it's been a long time. How many years have you been at this?
I started in April 1983, and I was about to graduate college in May of '83. And it was another wrestler, a guy named Tommy Husted, who I wrestled with in high school. We were at different high schools. He was a couple years older than me. And he had graduated from Lehigh University, where he had wrestled. And I was about to graduate from Seton Hall. This was April 1983. And he came into where I was working, and he said, "What are you going to do when you graduate?" And I was looking for a job at that point. I had a resume, probably not unlike young people, this time of year, right? Young people are getting out of college, right? The only difference is I had my name and my phone number. Today they have their email and their TikTok account, and their YouTube account, and their 17 other accounts. But I was looking for a job. And I was selling health club memberships for a guy named Dave Brzezinski, who actually had tied Dan Gable in the 1968 Olympic wrestling trial. So he gave me a sales job part-time. But I'm getting out of college, so I'm looking for my career path, so to speak. And anyway, Tom came in and he said, "Listen, $32, you're in business for yourself." And I wrote him a check. Now, here was the only problem with that. I wrote him a check and I said, "Don't cash it until Friday." Don't cash it until Friday. And that was my entry into business. But here's what happened. And you've heard this story, but nobody else on this call, I don't think, probably has. I went home that night. from work, and I have this distributor kit, right? This $32 distributor kit with a little bit of product in it, and a career manual. And I finished my schoolwork about 10 o'clock that night because I was a very good student. I was always into studying. And I said, well, let me see what I bought here today. And I pulled out that career book, and I went to the marketing plan section.
And that was for your first MLM business, right? Was it $32 kit? Okay.
You know, I didn't even know it was MLM because, like yourself, I had never heard of Amway or Shackley or any of these other companies. I didn't know there was anybody else in this business, right? And I wasn't even sure what Tom was showing me was legal, okay, at the time. But I was like, I trusted Tom, and because I trusted Tom, because of wrestling, I trusted Tom, frankly. He had been the New Jersey all-time career winner, over 100 matches. So I trusted him, and he was a smart guy. And at the end of the day, when I started doing those circles, I got really excited because I started to plug names into them and sales volumes. And it was a comp plan that basically had a 5% override. So, you know, you plugged in $1,000, you made $50. You plugged in $10,000, you made $500. You plugged in $100,000, you made $5,000, right? And it got me very, very excited. And long story short, that ended. I finished college May 18th, 1983. And I heard President Reagan was our commencement speaker. And at that time in my life, I was very against business in general. I had been raised by people who were really socialists for all intents and purposes. My parents, they didn't like business. If you owned a business, they thought you were trying to get over on it. But all of a sudden, I didn't want to go to my graduation. Reagan had fired the air traffic controllers, and I said, he's a union breaker. I don't want to go see this guy. My father, who did not like President Reagan at all because of his politics at that time, my father said to me, we respect the office of the president regardless who's sitting in that chair. You're going to go. You busted your butt to get here. You're going to go. We spent a lot of money we didn't have. You're going to go. Okay, I went. And I sat there, and I don't know, with this backdrop, but I sat there with my arms folded like this. Okay, across my chest, of course. And I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this guy. He got to about his third paragraph about free enterprise and about find a mentor, find somebody who can teach you a business that you're interested in. And all of a sudden, I went from there to the top of my chair. And when he was done speaking, I was probably the first one of the 4,000 people attending on my chair. Because that was the first time I really heard how free enterprise, which network marketing is a catalyst for, and anybody can do it wherever you are in the world. That got me. And I said, you know what? I'm getting in this network marketing thing both feet. Didn't make my parents very happy at the time because here I am graduating this expensive college and I'm going to get in network marketing and I'm going to sell vitamins and herbs. And that's exactly what I did. And that's now 39 years later. And here we are. And I've had an unbelievable career.
39 years. Wow.
39 years. And still doing it. Still doing it every day.
But here's the thing. Okay, like I'm off my topics now, but it's hard to stay on topic because I'm fascinated by the whole story. 39 years is a long time. It used to be, they called the 40-40 plan, right? And people kind of grinded 40 years. Now we're looking forward because at the end of the day, they didn't have much, I think. But you know what? 39 years, you look just as excited today about this than the day I met you.
Well, the thing is this, as you well know, because you've done such an amazing job with your company and with your own career. When you're growing people, there's nothing better to do for a living. You're growing people. You're helping other people. You're here. You're helping people go from point A to point B, and you never know what point A really is, what they're coming from, whether it's financial, whether it's maybe an emotionally abusive relationship, whether it's a bad marriage, whether it's a bad upbringing, whether it's some circumstance that later on they tell you about, that they grow out of because they get into business and they grow themselves, not only with the business that they enter, but self-development. They get around the tools. They get around the Jim Rohn materials. They get around the Tony Robbins materials. They get around the Dr. Napoleon Hill materials, for example, and on and on and on. And all of a sudden, that person's a different person 6 months, a year, 2 years later. And they come back and they say, if you hadn't said this, if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't grow to this level. So when you're growing people, you don't get tired of that. I'm going to do this till they close the box lid on me. I'll probably be on my way to to checking out. I'll probably have the phone in my ear.
John, I got to ask you, though. when I met you, they were talking about John Solleder in New York, young guy making 120 grand a month. That's a lot of money anytime in the, let alone 30 years ago. 30. So do you ever get bored of making a lot of money?
Let's be honest about it. Listen, I've been poor in my life, and I've had money in my life. Money is much better if you use it to help other people. Okay, you do good things with it. You just hoard it. Well, it's just paper. At the end of the day, if you use it for good things, you bless other people with it, then money is a great tool to grow not only you but to grow people and to grow the people around you. Most importantly.
All right, so you made what, 10 plus million. I don't know how much you made. You made a ton of money, but which is impressive. And people have to know two things we have to pick up from the first part of this call, which is 39 years. How many people can say they're stuck in the same career for 39 years? That doesn't even happen in jobs, right? So that's that by itself telling everybody, look, this could be the very last stop for you. You could retire on this. And you can, and you pass, when you expire, you can give it away to the next generation because it can be passed on. It's not like a job. It's not like a traditional business where the other person doesn't want it, your kid doesn't want it. This is the income, residual income that you could build, live through it, retire with it, expire with it, and the income goes to your spouse, goes to your children, which already we've had those scenarios in our company over the last 17 years. But you know what, John? You know, people look at you and say, you know what? Okay, yeah, but you know, it's bigger than life, right? But they need to know. I always say in forensic, we all start in the same spot. But some of us decided not to stay there. I always say that. We all start in the same spot, but some of us decided not to stay there. So give me your favorite, I know you got a ton of them. Give me your favorite horror story in MLM. And I've shared that with our team before. Some of them, I'm sure you got a ton of them. Give me your favorite one.
Well, there's a lot of them, but I was thinking about that when you asked me that before. And I think it was when I flew from New York to Los Angeles.
You're going to beat my story then. You're going to beat my story.
Well, to Sydney, Australia. Okay, and then I was connecting to Adelaide to a meeting. And by the time I got to Adelaide, the airline had decided to lose my luggage. Now, to begin with, you're in the same clothes for about 36 hours at that point. And I'm like, I get there an hour, by the time I clear customs, I get there about an hour before the meeting. And I grab a cab. I get to the hotel. I've got no luggage. I'm in the same clothes I've been in for 2 days. I get there, and we have a whopping. And I'm like, you guys have any idea what I've just gone through? Okay, but the people doing the meeting were my leaders. They actually lived on the Gold Coast area, right? So this was like an out of town meeting for them too. And they were an older couple at that. They were about my age now at that point, right? So I'm feeling sorry for these older folks. So I'm like, I'm feeling sorry for them. I feel more sorry for me, but I'm like, hey, the show must go on. It's 3 people. What if it's the right group?
So you flew for how many hours for 3 people?
36
hours.
36 hours, and I get to and by the way, I'm expecting a couple of hundred that night.
Yeah, okay?
Yeah. And you and I were in the same company at that time. Okay? So it's a big deal. And so so you get there, and what do? Well, the show must go on. I put on a meeting. Well, one of those 3 people over the next 2 years became my top performer in Australia. Because you don't know. So sometimes, listen, we've all done it. We've all gotten in the car. You guys who live in Canada, you get in the car, you drive in a snowstorm, and you go, oh, man, nobody's going to be at this meeting. And, 2 people show up, and you're like, do I do the meeting or do I get in the car and go home, right? Do the meeting. Do the meeting because you don't know who's going to show up. So that was one horror story that turned out good. I had another one like that, okay, where I flew to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And they also lost my luggage. This is the biggest thing for me is don't lose my luggage. I want to get to the hotel. I want to take a shower. I want to be in fresh clothes when I meet people, right? That's just a pet peeve of mine. So at the end of the day, I had the same thing happen in Michigan. But here was the funny part. There's 400 people show up for that meeting. I did it in my sweatpants. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Sorry, guys. If you've ever flown, they lose your luggage, right? Those would be funny things, as I look back on 39 years. That's 2 times. There's probably 20 more, but those are 2 that really stand out. But here's the real message, folks. And so I want you to get some meat on the bone here tonight. And hopefully you're taking notes, because Jim Rohn was one of my mentors, and he always taught me and chastised me to take notes. You do the meeting, because you don't know who's sitting in that audience or in that coffee shop that says, I need an opportunity. I need a way out. And you happen to have that information for that individual or that couple, and they grasp it. So don't worry about the amount of people. Worry who rather than how many.
You know what? That's just insane. I mean, I drove 14 hours in one day to London, and nobody showed up, and I had the biggest fight with God that night. I mean, I was so pissed off. I didn't even stay at the hotel overnight. You know, it was at Pat Ashby's house, you know, Pat. And, you know, I went to London, I zoomed right back. I was so angry. And I think back now, that was like 30 years ago. I think back now, I said, you know, it's all part of the path, right? It's all part of the path. And I think God is testing you. Like John, you've had a very fortunate, privileged life, right? You credit it, but very privileged life, because you've gone through those moments where you were knocked down and you had a choice. Stay down and get up and fight again. And we've been through this a lot. And generally, a lot of that happens in the first year or two, where God's really testing you.
You know, absolutely. And I finally, after 39 years, I finally came up with the perfect analogy. And you're going to relate to this, but so are the people listening to our call tonight. Go and Google after the call. Don't do it now, folks. We're going to share a lot of stuff that you're going to be able to use in your business and apply. But go and Google Rocky 1, the very first Rocky, the 14th round. And if you remember the movie, and this movie came out in the 70s, okay, but it's still out there. It's a great movie. And Rocky is getting beaten up by Apollo Creed. He's just getting knocked out. Like, if it was a real legitimate prize fight, it would have been stopped, right? There's no way in the world the referee would let it go on.
Right.
But he gets knocked out for, I don't know, the fourth time, the fifth time. And even his manager, Burgess Meredith, is telling him, stay down. And what does Rocky do? He gets up. As he's getting up, the camera shows Apollo Creed, his opponent, who looks across the ring like, you got to be insane to get up again. I'm just going to knock you on your butt again. Well, sometimes that's multi-level. That's also called life. Sometimes life knocks you down. Sometimes your career knocks you down. You drive to London and nobody shows up. You fly to another country 36 hours, and not only do people not show up, your luggage doesn't show up. But you do it anyway. You do it anyway because the universe, if you will, has a weird way of figuring these things out to say, you know, you did that meeting for nobody, or you did that meeting for 3 people, or you did that meeting and nobody signed up. We both had that happen. Where, hey, wow, was it me tonight? Did I forget my deodorant? Or like, what happened, man? Like, nobody signed up, or we did no business. How can we do no business, right?
Yeah.
It happens, and it happens to you, and it happens to me, and it happens to all of you listening at home tonight, wherever you are in the world. And then the other things happen. Gee, you walk in the room, and 17 people are in the room, and 14 people sign up, and you're like, wow, how did that? I must have really had my game plan. No, it's just the way it works. You just work through the numbers. But the main message is, just like Rocky doesn't give up, and Rocky won round 14, you don't give up. You'll get to the finish line. That's the real message.
On YouTube, Melanie says, happy 43rd Independence Day to U.S.
Thank you.
All right, so let's have another story. I know you got tons of them because I've heard some of them, but give our folks here one of your favorite rags to riches stories. Somebody you introduced who didn't have a lot, and then they become the hero.
I have a distributor in my current business who was a mariachi player in Mexico, and he made the equivalent of $5 in pesos, $5 US per day. And he's now at the very top of our compensation plan, making a lot of money, 6-figure income in US dollars. Now picture that, you're making $5 a day US, and now you're making, several $100,000 per year of income. And he works very hard. So
quickly though, John, how do we take somebody, because obviously growth has to start here, right? So how do you take somebody from $5 a day to 6 figures? Tell me about that transition a little bit.
Your handle was a couple of things. Number one, personal development. Okay, he spent time in the books. Okay, he only speaks Spanish, but the first time I met him, he said, "What do I read?" And I gave him a reading list, including my own books, okay, because they're in Spanish. And he read them. And he read some of the Jim Rohn books. And he read some of the other books that I suggested to him. So he became a student of self-development, number 1. And number 2, he had a great upline, okay, that was coaching him there in his market, that had already built a successful business. And once again, what's great about network marketing is anybody, no matter what your background is, as long as you're teachable, as long as you're hungry, can learn. Now, that means if you're well-educated, you can learn the business. If you have no education, you can learn the business. And both you and I have seen people that have come from walks of life where, you know, success was not something they could have even dreamed of, and yet today they're very successful in network marketing. So why is that? Okay, hard work, self-development, follow the leader. Okay, to me, all these businesses that are successful have a paint by the numbers system. And what I mean by that is, if you think about when your children were young, if you have young children, maybe you have young children today, but like when my kids were young, I would give them a blank canvas and it had colors on it, right? And it would say, you know, put pink here, put blue here, put orange here, whatever. And all of a sudden, an hour later, the kid's all excited because they got a picture of a horse that they painted. Well, to me, that's once again a success pattern. Do what successful people do, and you'll get similar results. Does that mean that you're going to make the money that the top guy in whatever company you're in is in? Not necessarily. But does it mean you're going to be better off than when you started? Absolutely, if you follow the systems that are in place that your company and that your upline has put in place. As long as they're succeeding, follow it. And that's what I think, going back to 1983, that's what I saw right off the bat. Was I saw a lot of success. I joined a company that at that time had done $140 million the year before, so it already had a lot of successful people. My upline, not Tom really, he was kind of new, but his upline, okay, a guy named Mark Zuckerberg, was already making some serious money. He was doing the trainings. Well, when he did the trainings, what did I do? I took notes. And then I said, well, who else is doing training around here? I went to their meetings and I took notes and I asked questions and I wrote them down. And here's the other thing, folks. Write stuff down. What you hear tonight, what you hear from other speakers that come on the forensic network here, what you hear in your company trainings, what you hear from other successful distributors, what you read from people who've actually built a business, not all the BS artists who write books and have never built a downline. There's a lot of them, unfortunately. Too many of them. I don't know who some of these guys are. You check them out. They make $10,000 1 month, with something 15 years ago, and they're still selling that story. If they're contemporary, if they have a check today that they built in a viable network marketing company, okay, listen to what they say. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it all, but certainly entertain it, because you're going to find that this is a pretty simple business for the most part. You're going to find we're all pretty much saying the same stuff. But take those notes and make them yours. And that was one of the things that I learned from Jim Rohn, was you write everything down, and then it becomes yours. First big meeting I ever went to was in June of '83, and I heard a guy named Larry Thompson, who became my main mentor at that time, still my good close friend today.
What was his top check, John? Because you introduced me to Larry. You kind of snuck me in one of the private meetings he had with all the top guys in the industry at that time. Remember that? And I was in the background. He didn't know I was listening to him. He was talking to all the top guys in all 20 different companies. You're one of them. And then I was kind of, because we're friends, you kind of let me listen to him. What was his top check, Larry's top check?
Oh, wow. Well, he earned, I know 1 year he made about $15 million. So what is that per month?
Wow. Ow. $15 million in 1 year.
Yeah, and this, by the way, that was in the 80s. That was real money. Today, I'm not sure with inflation. That's like $2 today. But back then, that was real money. But yeah, he made a fortune. But Larry said, well, most importantly, Larry said at that meeting in 1983, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And once again, I came from an environment that was all negative on business, right? People that own businesses were trying to steal your money. They were getting over on you. And all of a sudden, I had to change my thinking about business before I could go forward in my own business, working for myself. I had to realize, wait a minute, I'm helping people. I'm not hurting people. I'm sharing a great product with them. They're losing weight. They're gaining energy. They're making money. I had to accept that, believe it or not, and overcome my own negative thinking that somehow I was doing the wrong thing by actually making money from other people, buying my product. It was insane.
Now, speaking of that,
That's
sorry, I'm going to interrupt because you take me in an area which I have to nail you on it. So, we're selling products. Give me your favorite pitch.
okay. You want a contemporary one or one for
Okay, first give me the basic one, then give me the exotic one afterwards.
Okay, if we're just looking for a retail customer, okay, what I've always shared with people is, look, this is a product that's been a benefit. Like I try to find out what somebody does for a living or what their hobby is. Because most of the time, if you talk with, even if they're a stranger, like let's just set this up. You're at the gym and the guy next to you is on the bench. So I would say to a guy like that, listen, if I could show you a way to get a little stronger on your bench by using the same product that I'm using, would you listen?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if it's a professional one? Okay, professional meaning this. I know what the guy does for a living. For example, I go in and I'm going to talk to my chiropractor about my product. If I could show you a way that some other chiropractors are sharing this product and not only helping their clients to become healthier, but earning some extra income, would you give me 15 minutes of your time to explain more? See, what I always do, whether it's a business pitch or product pitch, is we're always selling more time.
If I could show you, would you give me? If I could
you
show you the benefit, would you give me your time?
Exactly. In other words, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that person to say, hey, yeah, I'm interested enough to listen. Whether I go have coffee with them after that, whether I talk on the phone, whether we get on Zoom these days, whatever it is, I'm asking for more of that person's valuable thing, which is called their time. Time's more valuable than money to most people, right? So to find out more. But I try to get it so that I share with them that there's people like them. Because I learned early on in my business, like attracts like. If you walked into a room of network marketing and it was all guys like you and I with 20 years that wrestled, okay, that would be fun at a wrestling event. But at a business event, if I was a lady and I walked in there, perhaps I might not feel comfortable. If I was a guy and I had never been in a gym in my life, maybe, I might not feel comfortable, right? So you got to make people feel comfortable where they see and hear about people like them, okay? I'm an old guy now. I'm in my 60s, okay? I hate to admit that, but I'm an old guy, okay?
You haven't changed a bit.
I still look the same. But when I talk to a younger person, I have younger people in my organization. I have younger people all the time that I'm talking to about my business. I don't tell them about me. I tell them about the 24-year-old kid in Atlanta, Georgia, that I've been coaching for the last 2 years who's having tremendous success. I tell them about the 25-year-old kid that I've been coaching in the Dominican Republic for the last 4 years that's having tremendous success. Why? Because they're going to relate to those people's stories. Hey, you've been doing this after 39 years, even if I did everything wrong, I probably figured out how to make some money, right? But they're not going to relate to me. Now, if I'm talking to another guy that's 50, 55, 60, 65, 70 years old, yeah, hey, I'm in my wheelhouse. We're talking about the same things. What are you going to do when you retire? How are the grandkids? How are the kids? All that kind of stuff. But I'm talking to a young guy, he doesn't even have kids yet. I got to relate to him through people who look like him, act like him. Follow? Okay? So I always try to match that up, whether it's a retail discussion of retailing a product or whether it's a recruiting environment where I'm trying to recruit them or face-to-face. I'm always going to tell them about somebody like them so they go, wow, I can do that because if that guy can do that, I can do that.
So let me unpack this a bit. So when you talk to somebody about prospecting, this is good stuff. You basically try to find a commonality so you can give them a story of somebody else to build that commonality. And then you ask a bunch of questions so you can gear your pitch towards what's important to them.
Exactly. I don't know if everybody listens to the radio anymore. I know I still do because once again, I'm an old guy. I know you still do. You're an old guy now. So we can relate to the radio. I still listen to talk radio, especially now.
Hopefully not Jerry Springer.
God, no. But how is he still on? But anyway.
That's true.
But once again, guys and girls, notes. WIFM. What's in it for me? Because if I just talk about me and I've been successful and I've been 39 years and I've been around the world and I've done this and I've written books and I've got a podcast and that's great for you, John. How do they see themselves in John? They don't. But if I tell them, hey, you know what, you're looking to make $500 to $1,500 a month because the inflation numbers in the United States and Canada right now, that's going to give you the same buying power you had 2 or 3 years ago when you go to the food store, when you go to the gas station, when you go out and buy clothes for your kid, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden now I'm speaking to WIFM, what's in it for me? They go, hey, you know what? Yeah, I could use it. Another $700 a month would be the differential between me paying my mortgage, paying my car payment, paying my insurance payments, putting food on the table, and having money for my daughter's dance classes. That's what's in it for me. Talking pie in the sky, big, huge numbers, they can't relate to that. Why would you even talk about that? Talk about what's going to resonate with them and tell them about people that look like them or they're aged like them or they're in the same profession that they happen to be in, because that's what they're going to relate to. Okay, very hard to relate to you or I at this point in our lives because we've been doing this a long time, right? And yes, there are people that will resonate with, but the majority of people are people who are saying, hey, I need a side gig right now. I need to make money right now. If ever people needed to make money, folks, 1983, coming off the Jimmy Carter years in the United States, okay, and all the ridiculous things that guy did, and the ridiculousness right now, and I don't want to talk politics, but the ridiculous right now that we're seeing around the world with inept leaders who don't know what the word economies mean, okay? And you and I, everyone on this call, we are in a position wherever you live. I know there's people on in Israel, I know there's people on in the Philippines, I believe, and Singapore, and probably Europe, and of course here in North America and Mexico. People need to make money right now. So when you come to them, you're coming with a solution to a problem that they have that they don't know that you have the solution for. If you have the right conversation, you can get them to at least listen to what you have to offer.
So, John, again, what I try to do, that we could do this for 8 hours. I'm trying to take the emotions that here we got the locker room talk going, you and I actually,
I'm rolling up my sleeves.
yeah.
Good stuff here.
Actually, the way I put it out there, the way I put it out there, so okay, there's a locker room talk between two multi-millionaire earners, right? So I wanted to know the emotions, right? Because people look at you now, it's okay, begin on life, whatever, but we all go through the same challenges that we all, like I said, we're all still in the same place. Some of decide not to stay there. So tell our folks about some of the emotional roller coaster you went through, like the biggest letdown you had. You know, sometimes we get somebody and we think that we're going to retire on that one person alone. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, they're not answering our phone. So give us one of those stories.
You can retire on me alone. Wow, yeah. Too many. Well, okay, so I sponsored a guy. Okay, this was a guy down here in Dallas a number of years ago who shared with me that he could open Mexico for my company. We were looking to open Mexico at that point. This was about 13, 14 years ago. Good guy, took him out to dinner a couple of times, and he's ready to go. And then he shows up at the final meeting with me and tells me, listen, I need $25,000 a month to do this. And my heart sank, because I had introduced him to the then CEO of the company. I had introduced him to some of my distributors, which was a big mistake on my part, because my local distributors, now all of a sudden this guy knows them, and I'm telling him, well, this guy's going to go to Mexico, blah, 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 blah. And boy, I was disappointed. And I guess when he shared that with me, I said, there's no way I'm going to do that, because it's insane. Okay, and I don't need to do that. And he told me right then and there, he said, you'll never build Mexico without me. Well, for FTC purposes, I won't tell you how many distributors I have in Mexico these days, but it's a lot. It could fill up a lot of football stadiums in Mexico, let's put it that way. This guy told me flat out, John Solleder, you will never, ever, ever build Mexico. I don't speak a word of Spanish. I do speak a little bit, but a little bit. Okay, and I said, I want to build Mexico with or without you. And he got me that mad that night that I basically went to my network and started to find people who had contact capital. We wound up with 2 tremendous legs in Mexico as a result of that conversation. Okay, so I took a negative and I turned it to a positive. Well, I could have been upset. Now, I was upset about him because he wasted my time. And I was disappointed in him because I thought he was a better person than that. We had a relationship. I liked the guy. He was a good guy. Good guy, fun guy to have dinner with and all that. I was disappointed. Now, I'll give you one other quick one. The United Kingdom, way back. This was back in the 80s when we built the United Kingdom. And I remember my first trip over there, that all the guys that we brought in, basically, that were going to build the business, basically quit the first week. We had a delay in getting product. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the product was leaving the port of Montreal. The ship actually broke a rudder on some ice. And the product didn't get there. And I'm over there pitching my brains out, doing meetings in 6 cities a week by car. I'm exhausted. I'm in my 30s then. I'm exhausted from running all over the United Kingdom. And these guys heard the product wasn't coming, and they said, look, that's the last delay. They basically quit. Well, I could have got on an airplane and came home. I was still making a decent check in North America, Frank. I was making enough money to make it worth my while just to go back. I go back to New York, go back to my then girlfriend, go back to my life, go back to my boat. I had a nice boat at that time. I had a great lifestyle. I lived on the water. I'm going to go back to my life, go to Toronto, see you, come to Ottawa, work with Pat, work with all my guys, have fun. I love Canada, okay? My heart's with Canada right now to my Canadian friends on here. You guys are going through some craziness. We're praying for you down here. But anyway, I could have done all that. But I didn't. I went up to Manchester. The last meeting on my agenda. And I meet Simon Brooks.
Ooh.
And Simon says to me, Mike, I'm going to build this business. And I said, okay. And he said, we're going to do a meeting tomorrow night. You're going to be amazed how many people are going to show up. I'm like, all right, well, I hope so. I said, Simon, you realize we have no problem. He goes, don't worry about it. They're going to show up anyway. Okay. They're going to show up. They got no problem. But we signed up that night over 300 people.
Wow.
And they could only sign up with their application. Now, here's the funny part. It's all cash back then. The company wasn't in a position to take checks. They didn't have a bank account. So everybody paid 15 quid to join their business. That's all I could do was take their money. So I wind up with literally bags full of British sterling that I take to my room. And I'm thinking, I've got 300 people's 15 pounds, which I don't know how somebody can figure that out. I don't know what that is for. Alan Ogden's on here. He's smart. Alan, figure that out for me. Tell me how much money that was. I got all this cash. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting in a hotel room in Manchester, England with all these other people's money. If I lose the money, how do I call the president of the company or the owner and tell them, well, all these people paid me, but I don't have their money, right, if I get robbed or something. So that created a whole other scenario. But here's the point. That meeting started to build the company, okay? And Simon became my leader there. He was about my 9th level. What if I had gotten on the plane and came home?
Yeah.
450,000 quid. Is that what it was? It's a lot of money. I don't know how much money that is today.
450,000 pounds.
Yeah.
These days you'll end up in jail.
Yeah, cash. That's the other thing. I couldn't even put it in the bank because I don't have a bank account, and the company doesn't have a bank account, right? So I'm calling back to Toronto the next day, talking to the owner of the company. What do I do with all this money? He said, well, just hold on to it. I put it in my briefcase.
Hold on, yeah, sure. Hold on to it.
I'm going all over England. Anyway, long story short, I extended my trip. We built a business. That business still exists today. I'm not part of that company anymore. 30 plus years later, that business still exists.
So, John, let's talk about leadership a bit because you've built some empires and for a long period of time. So, how do you maintain? Let's assume we got people on the call right now. They got organizations, and I actually got people on the call right now that have made over $100,000 a month. Well, how do you maintain that type of momentum? Say you're making $5,000 a month right now, and for on a long period of time, or 10,000, or 20,000 a month. How do you maintain that type of momentum long term?
Number one, do what you did to get there in the first place. This is where the mistake happens in network marketing.
Right.
People will start to believe their own press clippings. Okay.
Right.
People start to believe that all of a sudden that, wow, well, I am a this, whatever the rank is in your company, right? Or whatever the rank is, whatever company they're in.
Chocolate NATO commander.
How did you get there, right? And I go back to sports a lot in this respect. If you are a successful, whatever, wrestler in our case, I'm sure there's other people on the phone that were in other sports, and you got successful, and you stop training, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Your game's going to go down. Okay, what do you do? You go back to the basics, right? That's the same in multi-level. Keep doing your Zoom calls, right? While we're getting through this COVID period, right? If you're doing 3 Zoom calls a week for your team, keep doing 3 Zoom calls for your week. Don't go, well, hey, my check is X amount of dollars, so therefore I'm going to do 1 call. No, if 3 got you where you are, continue to do 3. If it's 4, if it's 7, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, continue to do the basic fundamentals. People say to me, how after 39 years are you still doing meetings, are you still doing trainings, you're still recruiting people, and you're still building? Because at the end of the day, what else am I going to do to continue to be successful? Is I'm going to do what got me successful in 1983 and 84 and 86 and 91 and 97, etc. And what I taught other people that helped them to become successful, right? I'm not going to change the script. I'm not going to change the, if you're cooking a great meal and it turns out great, the next time you cook it, do you take out a couple ingredients? Of course not. Consistency is what's going to make it happen for you more than anything else. Look, I interview a lot of people with the podcast and my books and not only my own company, but talking to you all the time and talking to so many other friends of mine in the industry that have been successful. You know what we all have in common? Consistency. If you look at anybody who's successful in our business, they're consistent, right? All the fake authors out there to write the books that never really built a business, they're going to tell you all these crazy things to do. Folks, let me tell you what it comes down to. Talk to people on a consistent basis. New people, get them enrolled in your business. Support your old people. Do your calls. Do your trainings. You be you, and you lead from the front of the room. This whole thing about, I'm going to lead from the back, no, you're not.
That's
You
right.
can only lead from the front. That is now. True duplication means you get to the point, okay, where you could sit in the back, but don't. Be part of the process. Grow your people into leadership positions, but continue to lead. I still do a Zoom-tacular for my people every 90 days, a big event. Why? Because they want to see you're still here. You're still doing it. 39 years later, 25 years in my parent company, you're still doing it. That's how they hang around.
I got to tell you,
leaders follow leaders.
I've got to tell this story. God bless him, Mark here now. We used to do some stuff together and did some webinars and stuff together. And then he said, he was kind of funny. I talked to him and then he says, he had that Idaho accent. And he what a legend, right? He sits at the top 2 for me in all-time legends. And he would say, I mean, it's funny thing, it's just, the dude can go and fail in 10 deals or write a book, and he's a legend. So you got to be careful, right? Because that's what some people do, just write books and never build anything, like you said. So their experience, they're basically writing on something that they think would sell, not necessarily something that works. If they knew how to build, they would have built it themselves, right? So they go fail in every deal they do, but they keep writing books because somebody thinks because of what the book, they know what they're doing.
Well, here's what it comes down to. You're absolutely right. It's theory versus application. Okay? Theory versus application. They theorize how to be successful, and they come to some meetings, they take some notes, and then they go and they want to tell everybody how smart they are. The application is the guy who's actually doing it. Now, I've consulted for some major companies in my career. And I got around distributors that you never heard of that have been making income in companies 30, 35, 40 plus years. And I'll give you one perfect example. There's a large company in California that I worked with the owner that acquired the company, and I did some consulting for him. And I went to the very first big meeting he was doing, and Tony Robbins was there, met Tony Robbins and all that stuff. Anyhow, I got to lunchtime, and I don't have any place to sit. I don't know anybody. I know the owner. I know you know the company. I know the owner of a big company, right? And he's pretty busy. He's hanging out with Tony Robbins, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to just go. I'll just find a seat and I'll eat lunch, right? So I sit down with these nice people. And they all tried to save my life, by the way, by telling me all the products I should take from their company, which was great, by the way, because that's exactly what they should have done.
That's right.
I didn't know if I wasn't taking alfalfa, how I had lived to that age, at that point. But God bless them, their hearts were in the right place, and that's exactly what good distributors do.
That's
you don't know who the guy is. He might be here looking at the day. He might have walked it off the street. He doesn't know what this is. Pitch him. Anyway, here's what stayed with me to this day. there were people at that table, and this was in the early 2000s, by the way. There were people at that table who had had a check in that company since 1959. And I don't think they were big checks, by the way. I don't even think these people were full-time. But to your point earlier, this became, in my thinking, a generational business, because when those folks go to the next life, who gets that business?
Mm-hmm.
Their kids,
Mm-hmm.
maybe their grandkids. If you build this business right, because network marketing companies today are lasting. There's a lot of them that have been around 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 plus years, which means if you build a business, it's no different than if you built the local Subway franchise and you pass away, that business goes to your kids or your grandkids. It becomes a generational business. It impacted me in one respect, but it also showed me something else. And that's, once again, be consistent, and a company can hang around that long. This particular company had been around for a long, and it's still around, by the way. It's going on about 65 years now. So, those are life lessons that you only learn by doing. But a lot of these guys that write these things, it's like, they don't have those experiences,
You know what, John? Interesting thing. Sanaz was in my office today, and we're talking about this one particular person in our company. And because I get the report for the commission once a week, I don't look at it, but sometimes Sanaz likes to look at it. And she says, so and so is still making money with our company. We haven't seen her in like 10 years. I said, really? It says, yeah, she's still making like a $5K a month, and we haven't even seen her in like 10 years. She has not show up to a call. But you know what? In a way, it felt good because we've been on long enough that we paying people for a long, long time. So yeah, there's an example.
And you know what? Nothing wrong with that, because if they built an organization, okay, it's okay to go away. Now, I wouldn't suggest that, okay, because how are you impacting other people and how are you showing leadership? Yeah. On the other hand, if they got into business to build for a short period of time and they did it successfully, God bless them.
Well, here's the thing, though. That person we just talked about, John, exactly what you just said. They always have a very active group. Had they been active, they'd be at 50,000 a month. So this is the thing, too. So it's not what they're making, it's what they're losing by just not being active and supporting their team.
Exactly. Well, not only that, you want to have fun in your business. And the fun in your business is to see people grow in your business. You and I can only grow so much anymore. You know what I mean? We can still grow, but at the end of the day, it's going to be in smaller percentages than a guy or a gal or a young couple that comes in and they know nothing, and they start at zero, and they say, can I do this? I'll give you another example. I came here to Dallas to help a company.
Let me show you what's going on YouTube as well. Most people are on Zoom, but we have a good group going on, and people are enjoying it. So I know we're running out of time, but you know what? We want to finish up enough. It's okay. Keep going, and I have one more question for you.
I'll tell you this one fast, okay? So I'm up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, okay?
I love stories.
And here I am, I'm this New York guy, my New York accent that I've since have lost living down here in Dallas over the years. But you remember, I used to have a heavy New York accent, right? And so anyway, so I'm down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and this guy comes in, right? And the guy who was bringing him to the meeting said, he's a high school baseball coach, and he's a firefighter, and his wife's a kindergarten teacher. I said, wow, I love this. That's like salt of the earth, real people. They know what work is, right? So these folks come in and they sit down, and he's coming from baseball practice, right? So he's got his uniform on, he's coaching kids, and he's a little smelly and all of that. And he's like apologizing. Man, you don't apologize to me. So this, let's sit. We had a conversation. He said to me during that conversation, he said, John, do you think a guy like me could ever make $5,000 a month? And this was in the early 90s. So $5,000 a month would probably be today, I don't know, 10,000, 8,000, something like that. And I said, oh, Todd, I absolutely do. He said, why? I said, because I see the hunger in your eyes. I know you're a hard worker. You're coaching kids after school to make part-time money, and you're a firefighter, and your wife's a school teacher. You guys know what work is. Well, that guy became the #1 distributor in that particular company. Okay? Now, do you think it was fun for me? And I left that company. I was on the corporate end of that company for a number of years. Okay? I left that organization, but I followed him. We're still friends today. And I saw him grow into this massive distributor, right? From a guy who said, you really think I can make $5,000? And you could see he was questioning, do you think I even got a shot to do that? And I didn't guarantee it, because you can't guarantee success. But you can say, hey, man, I see that you got all of the DNA to be successful. Now let me just give you the building blocks to do so.
John, people join our business and they look for that magic pill, right? They think that there is this one path that they don't know yet. It's not about that at all. It's the foundation. It's this type of conversation that inspires somebody tonight to say, you know what, I'm going to make this happen no matter what, and they just stick to it, keep evolving. So over the years, even I asked even Mark Yarnell this when he was alive. I've always asked this: you need a lot of attributes to hit a financial home run in MLM. But if you had to put one ahead of everything else, what would it be? For me, was because I for 20 years I struggled with this because you could come up with many things, right? For me, I think if the very first thing you need to do is become more than what you are. I mean, so if you're making extra $500 a month, you're not making it now. You need so if you're making extra $500 a month, you need some new ideas that will turn into some new actions, turn into new results. And then, so in other words, you got to evolve a little bit. At 5,000, you got to evolve more. For me, the very first thing ahead of everything else, that you can't remain the same and expect more, right? You got to evolve. So if you had to put one attribute ahead of everything else, what would that be for you?
You know, I've always approached the business with this idea. Okay, I come from blue collar roots. Okay, my dad was an electrician, and I knew what hard work was as a kid. And I compare at different times how my father made a living, going into manholes in 5-degree weather, 2 feet of snow, 100-degree weather during the summertime, electricity that could kill you at any point if you touch the wrong thing. I compare his life to mine sometimes, and I just say, you know what? Apply the same work ethic. My business is clean. I get to wear suits and ties when I do a meeting, or I get to do Zoom calls. Apply that same work ethic that you grew up watching to your network marketing business, wherever you came from, whatever your roots are. Okay? Apply that same thing. And that's what I've done over the years. When I worked with a company here in Dallas that I helped to really put on the map back in the 90s, the owner of that company used to say, you were a lunch pail distributor. And what he meant by that was I was the kind of guy that showed up like the guys do to work on big buildings, right, to build big steel structures. They show up with their lunchbox. Why? They're going to 20th, 30th, 40th floor of the building. They're not coming down for lunch. They're going to eat their lunch sitting on a girder. That's the way I've always been with this business, which is why I think I've been successful at it more than anything else. So keep that work ethic, folks, okay? Look, you have your goals for you and your family. That's really, really important. But at the end of the day, okay, if you apply the same work ethic that you would put in anything else, by the way, if you were working for someone else, they'd expect you to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and go home at 5 and take 45 minutes for lunch. Apply that same thing in your own business. Be a bad, mean boss to yourself. That's what I've always been. Okay? I still get up in the morning and I still go to work every day. I don't have to, but I do because not only am I growing people, but I'm also growing myself. I'm still developing. At 60 years old, I'm still learning. Okay? I'm still asking questions. I'm still reading books. I'm still listening to podcasts. I'm still talking to guys like yourself that are super duper successful and saying, what is it that you're doing? I'm still talking to Larry on a regular basis, right? I'm still talking to other colleagues of mine in the industry around the world. You know, people like Dan McCormick and Dan Stamen and Jeff Roberti and guys, and maybe these names mean something to you guys, maybe they don't. My generation network were super successful guys. We still trade notes. Arlene Lowy, who you know in Pittsburgh, Karen Ford in Virginia, all people that I've worked with over the years, different way, shape, or form. But we're still talking. We're still going forward. Look, when I get to the end of my life, whenever that is, I want people to say, that guy was really good at his craft. I don't want them to say, hey, he got to a certain point, he burned out, he quit, he went fishing all the time. Hey, I get to do those things too, and I enjoy those things with my family. But at the end of the day, I feel like God put me on this planet to lead people to a better place than I found them in. And that's a responsibility that I take serious. It's a responsibility you take serious. And it's a responsibility, folks, that you on the phone, take it serious with your distributors, because once again, you can change people's lives in a very productive, proactive way that, frankly, very few businesses out there can outside network marketing. So do it.
So, John,
and enjoy it.
You're an American and you guys love your football. This is a locker room talk. I told everybody this is going to be a locker room talk. So if you're a football coach and we're the team, Give us that halftime. We're behind by two touchdowns. Give us that pep talk.
Well, wow. Okay, first of all, oh man.
And you thought that was going to be an easy call.
All right, let's start. With that. First of all, one of my wrestling coaches, Dave Brzezinski, who I mentioned earlier. Dave, whenever Dave would coach me, he'd slap me in the face before I got on the mat, and he would say, "Be brutal."
Be brutal.
And be brutal. Okay. In other words, don't back up, don't give up. You're in the fight till the end. In a 6-minute match, you wrestle 6 minutes, you wrestle with a whistle.
Yeah.
Okay? In business, it's the same. Okay? Go to the whistle. Go to the end. Go to what it is you want. Now, let's go another direction. Pat Riley, who was coaching the Lakers for many years in Miami.
Against Boston and Larry Bird. I remember those days.
Oh, yeah. Pat Riley, I'll never forget what he said. Okay? What he used to tell the Lakers. The fans have shown up. Nicholson's sitting in the first row. Okay? They've paid for their tickets. You guys are here. We might as well win. Well, guess what, folks? Your company's in business. Your products are in the warehouse. Your compensation plan is what it is. People are achieving with it. Are you winning? And if you're not winning, maybe you need to look in the mirror. Because if others are winning and doing in your respective company with your pay plan, with your products, and you're not winning to the degree that you want to win to, think of what Riley said. The fans are here. Let's say that's your comp plan. Okay? The other players are here. That's your support system. That's your company executive team. That's your upline. That's your cross line. That's your trainers. It's all those people. They're all there. It's all there. If you're not winning, then you're going to lose you. And make a couple little changes and start to get on a winning track, and then do what you do that's winning and succeeding. Do it consistently and do it for a lot of years. Not just money. Money is not a good enough reason to build a business. Okay, it's really not. I can say that now. I couldn't say that in 1983. I didn't have it. But today I can tell you, money it's a result. But you want to be proud of what you do. You want to impact people positively. Not everybody's going to be your friend. Not everybody's going to be your fan. Not everybody's going to say nice stuff about you. Believe it or not, we got two of the nicest guys on the phone in the world right now in network marketing, and not everybody loves us. Okay? We got people that don't like us for whatever reason. Okay? Don't worry about that. You're there to lead. Okay? You're there to build. You're there to build a financial fortress around yourself and your family. We're living in unprecedented times around the world. I wish I could just say this is Canada and the U.S., but I know people around internationally. Your situation is probably like our situation. We don't know what the future is going to be. Here's what I know. Build a financial fortress around yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Why? Okay? Yeah.
Oh, we lost John. Okay, he's going to come back. So look out for him, please. Look out for him, please. Because I'm not done with him yet. But I love what he said. You're here. Might as well win. Don't you love that? I mean, some simple things, right? You're here. Go. Might as well win. I love it. Let's look for John. He's probably going to get back on. John, if you're on YouTube watching, just get back on. We're going to finish this strong. And wow, I didn't even get to all the topics that I wanted to get to. But there's one more thing I want to cover with John. And hopefully he can get back on. So if you can look for him. So if you guys love what you just heard, come on, blow it up. Blow the chat. Blow Zoom. Come on. Make it all colorful because, you know, John's been doing this for 39 years. I don't know how much money he's made, tens of millions of dollars. You know, he was my original upline when I first launched my MLM career with Lifestyle, my first company. He was then a master distributor when I first got into MLM. So keep looking for John, please. So we can get back on. So this is a really, really, really good situation for you now. Why? Let me repeat this. I was 20 years old, my very first exposure to MLM, company out of Toronto. I went there, the top distributor, the master distributor. Somebody capture screen the chat for me, because this is awesome stuff. Because you want to send these capture screens to everybody who missed these calls. They should never miss these calls. So somebody capture screen to YouTube, some capture screen to Zoom. I love the colors. All right. So when I joined MLM in age 20, this is 1990, John was a master distributor. He was a $100,000 a month guy. I just joined. He was already there. He was already the legend. Here we are 32 years later on the same call with similar results. Let that sink in. When I got in, he was older, more professional. He was already a millionaire. He was a master distributor, 6-figure monthly check. I signed the application. Here we are, 3 decades later, on the same call with similar results. That means you folks on the call tonight, doesn't matter how new you are, you and I can be doing this 10 years from now. John is calling me. Hi, John. I know you got cut out, but don't worry. People are listening to you. So, you're not off the hook yet.
The screen frozen. I'm still there. Okay, I get on it.
Hold on.
I'll close it out for you there.
Actually, John, I got to. I don't think Zoom can hear me. So can you log back in on the Zoom?
Log back in here.
Yeah, thanks. All right, that was John. Can you guys hear me on Zoom? Because I know when it calls. Can you guys hear? Can you hear me?
We can hear you on Zoom.
Okay, so John's gonna get back in here. So you're listening to this call tonight. You're new at this. Maybe you don't have a lot of success yet. But 10 years from now, you and I can be having this conversation on a Zoom call or whatever technology they're going to be using. Metaverse. Maybe you and I will be on Metaverse, with 1,000 people, and I'll be talking about your success. So let this part sink in. It's not when you start. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. It's how you finish that counts. Please look out for John. John, put your hand up so we can find you. There's a lot of people on Zoom. I got Reza on the call. I know Reza wants to say some words to John as well, because Reza and I go back, from the beginning together. That's where we met with John Solleder. So do we have John back yet? I know he's trying to log back in. There's a lot of people on Zoom. Just keep looking for him. So wouldn't this be one of your targets, right? I love what he said. Might as well win, right? Might as well win. Put that in the chat group. We're here anyways. We got a business. This is the time of stay-at-home economy. We got the ultimate opportunity, the product, the compliance, support, training. Might as well win. It's a decision. We can let it be, not do anything. It's the 3 types of people: watch things happen, make things happen, don't know what the hell just happened. You can make that decision. There you are, John. All right, no, I wasn't gonna let you off the hook because I have one more thing to ask you, young man.
I don't know if I froze or you froze. I don't even know where we were, but anyway.
It's all. You know what I was just telling him, John? I was telling my team here. When I first came into MLM, I was 20 years old. You were the top guy. You were the master. You were the legend. You're a millionaire. So here we are 32 years. They're both on the same stage with similar results. So everybody that's listening right now who's new, I want them to envision being on the phone with me 10 years from now, with you 10 years from now. And guess what? And we all will have similar results. So it's not when you start, how you start, it's how you finish. And this is an opportunity for everybody on the call right now to be thinking that way for the future.
Listen, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And, look, where we started versus where we are, it's amazing. And I guess the message is, look, everybody on here, no matter what your circumstance is, you can achieve.
Yeah.
Okay, but you got to have that hunger, and you got to have that work ethic, and you all can do it. I mean, it's not, this isn't. Believe me, if this was difficult, I wouldn't be. Ramin would be successful. I wouldn't be successful probably because, where I started. I got to give you one. Can I give one more fast story?
Yeah. Go. This is great stuff. I'm enjoying this.
All right, so I don't even think you know this story, okay? Because I used to be really embarrassed about this. You get to 60, you're not really embarrassed about much of anything. So I'm gonna tell this story. So when I went to college, I had no money, none. I mean, I was like, typical no money kid, and my vehicle to go to school was the United States mail Jeep that I had bought from a surplus sale in Hackensack, New Jersey. Okay, so a mail Jeep pulls up, to your house today, sticks your mail in the mailbox. That's what was my car going to school. Now here was the really downside. I don't know if you've ever been in one of these things, but you're driving this way, and you got the mail rack next to you. Okay, so I never had a date in college. Okay. This is true stuff.
That's probably where you made a lot of money. You weren't wasting it on dates. There you go.
Exactly. So I get out of college, I get into the network marketing business, and I start to build this business up in the northern part of New Jersey and the lower part of New York State. Well, what happened, the company I was with would ship our product in these master cartons in those days to Newark Airport, which was about 30 miles, give or take, from where most of my people lived. Well, most of my people that I recruited and that they recruited, etc., they were older people, older that they were, 30, 40, 50 at that time. I'm a young kid. So I had this negative with the mail Jeep. Like if I would bring it to a meeting, I would park it in the back of the hotel because I didn't want anybody to know that, I'm trying to recruit you into a business and I'm driving this ugly old mail Jeep that cost me $1,000 to buy, right? And I couldn't afford a car. So anyway, all of a sudden I realized most of my distributors are not going to go to Newark Airport and pick up products. So what would happen, it would land and then UPS would take it and would take it to your house, take about 3 days to deliver it. And I'm thinking, well, how do I speed up volume? If I go to the airport and I pick it up and I bring it back to a couple of central points and I let my distributors meet me there at, a given hour, they can get their product faster, they can sell it faster. Okay? So this ugly blue mail Jeep, okay, all of a sudden became an asset. Now, the other thing I did was I charged 3% freight. So if you had $1,000 product, for example, you gave me $30 to cover gas and tolls, and I went and I got your product, and I needed to deliver it to a central point, or if I really liked you, I brought it to your house, right? Well, what it did was it sped up the business that I was building. So I took a negative, right, this ugly blue mail Jeep that I didn't know why I had it while I was in college, but when I started my business, I turned it into an asset. Okay? And that's the way you have to think in your life, okay? You and I have a friend in Toronto, for example, Ramin, you know who I'm talking about. When I met him, he had lost his business, this guy. But we were sitting in a restaurant in Montreal, and I said, what do you have as an asset? He said, my car. And I said, let's get a decal on the back of your car that says, hey, call me and I'll show you how to drive one of these. Well, that's what he did. And that's how this guy started to build his business. Well, point being, folks, okay, for your notes once again, whatever your circumstances, use it to your advantage. Let it not only motivate you, but use it to your advantage, okay? Take chicken, you-know-what, and turn it into chicken salad, so to speak, okay? That's the point of that story. So
John, the person John's talking about ultimately became the second top earner of the company. So when I launched my business, my first MLM business with that company, it was done at his house. You guys all heard his stories. If you're around me for 10 minutes, I share a pure story because he was so charismatic, right? He was bigger than life. And so I got to tell you a story for the new people, how I got, the night I got into MLM, Piero was tough on me. If it wasn't tough on me, I probably would have put it off. So here's what happened. I had a pizza business. So one of the most annoying customers walked in, gave us a flyer. This is pre-internet days. John and I, when we started doing this stuff, nobody had internet and websites and all this other WhatsApp, did none of this stuff. It was basic phones this long, cell phones if you had it. It was this long, and we dealt with sheets this big of stuff. So somebody gave me a flyer, picture of a guy with a Porsche and a Jaguar from a mansion in Mississauga, and the story said, "How can a man make $73,000 a month selling cookies from his home?" Let me repeat that. That was a story. How can a man make $73,000 a month selling cookies from his home? Because that business sold diet cookies that tasted like dog food. It really did, but it did work, right? So I read the story. I'm 20 years old. I'm in the pizza business. We got a $100,000 mortgage, and I make maybe $2,000-3,000 a month. And I thought I was doing okay. And here's a guy selling cookies from home, making $73,000 a month. I thought there was a misprint. Supposed to be selling cocaine from his home, because I couldn't understand how did somebody make $73,000 a month selling cookies, right? So anyway, but I wanted to meet him, so I finished work at 4 a.m. We went home, took a shower, drove 4 hours to Toronto, saw the mansion, the cars, got at 9 a.m. The guy who brought me there, and I see the cars, and I froze. I'm thinking, God, I'm going to run into a corporate giant that's going to speak the language I don't understand. I'm 20 years old. I thought I'm going to run into that type of lifestyle. You expect to meet somebody. So we go inside with 20 people in the basement, and I keep poking the guy who brought me. Where is this guy? That's him right there. He was in a track pants. His foot was on the table on the phone. Of course, the track pants probably was a Versace track pants, but I'm just saying he was not what I expected, right? Which was great for me because I'm not polished like that. John was. John, when I met you, you're the guy in the suit. I mean, you look good, you smell good, you talk good, you're very polished, right? I was the rough one. I needed a love. I'm still rough, but I have polish, believe it or not, from those days. So somehow Pierre and I, because of cars, with you was wrestling, with Pierre was cars, we got really liked each other. So I stayed, get this guy, till 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning the next day. We're still up talking. Pierre pulled the trigger on me at 5 a.m. Now imagine work, home shower, drive 4.5 hours, full day, 5 a.m. We're about to leave because I have to go home, take a shower, go back to the pizza business. And Pierre says, "Ready to start it?" I'm like, yeah, it sounds really good. My first MLM, right? Good. $2,200. Remember the direct order? Buy 9 cases, get 1 for free? Remember that? It was like they give you 90 bottles of this juice, right? So you guys think, hey, our business, you get shopping credits and you can do whatever you want whenever you want. No, we left with 90 bottles this big of a juice that would ferment. So we had to really use it and sell it. John, remember our auto ship every month, the qualifier, $1,500 a month for commissions. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
$1,500 a month. That was to get our checks. Forget about the legs in bonus. I'm talking about just to go deep. To get our checks personally, we need the $1,500. Anyways, so Pierre said, "You ready to get started?" I said, yeah. $2,200. Let's go. This is in 1990. I'm 20 years old, and I don't have $2,200. It's use a credit card. Let's go. Use a credit card. Visa, MasterCard. The company take Visa, MasterCard. And you know what? When you're 20 years old, you had your first card, but then you screwed it up because you're 20 years old, right? So, and I didn't have it. I said, "Pierre, you know what? I make sure excited, but I really don't have it. I go find the money." See, Pierre knew that if I left, I would get consumed by life again. He probably would lose me.
Yep.
He says, "You can get the money. Call somebody right now. You can get the money. Use a credit card. You'll sell the products. You pay it back in 3 weeks. Don't worry. Before the bill comes in, it's only 5 a.m. Who am I going to call?" Right? I said, "I really don't know who to call," and I meant it. I really meant what I said. I didn't know who to call. So he nailed me with this one. He knew I like cars, the bastard. He says, "What's your favorite car?" Oh man, that Porsche outside in the driveway. That Porsche. Okay, that's 1990. That's an $84,000 Porsche. What if I told you I can sell? I'm going to say an $84,000 Porsche for $2,200. Can you think of somebody right now to borrow that $2,200 right now? I'm like, of course. All of a sudden, I'm 100% sure. Just before the car example, well, I got to go find it. I don't know. No, as soon as he wants to sell me the Porsche for $2,200, like, of course. He says, "Good. pick up the phone, call a person who was going to give you that $2,200 for the Porsche and put into his business. Because what I just offered you is a Porsche a month for the rest of your life. I called my girlfriend at the time, 5 in the morning, and said, "You still got that Visa card?" so that was my start in MLM 32 years ago. Now, can you imagine had it been easy on me? Or had we shown some ego? He didn't have to. I was his 6th level. You know how that comp plan worked. We only got paid 5 levels. He even get paid on me. It's not like you guys are spoiled right now to infinity. Remember that? You know what the worst part was, John? With there's no back office guys. We actually got a FedEx package like this. Remember, John, with the genealogy in it? It was like 30 feet long with all the prints and who placed an order. And everybody in your organization came in FedEx with a genealogy in it. And then, you got paid once a month. So anyways, so that's how I got started. And it was, can you imagine? Okay, here's what I want you to finish with, John. Because you alluded on this earlier on in the call. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Don't change the plan. Don't turn the page. Be a soldier. Be a distributor. Don't become a person on the payroll, because the ego tends to become bigger than your paycheck. And a lot of people would not do what you and I do right now. Piero didn't have to spend time with me that night. He was already a multimillionaire, but he did. And look what it become because of it. So how do you manage that ego so people can stay consistent after the checks are high?
Well, that's a great question. I can only talk from personal experience. Okay. And here's what it is. I switched computers. You guys can see all the trophies and medals and some of the stuff behind me here. And I didn't switch computers to show you that, but based on your question, I'll point it out to say this. I always stayed humble because I always stayed around people in my other life that made me humble. You step on the mat with another guy, and that guy might be, he might be a truck driver. He might be whatever. Well, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care that he's competing against a guy who's a big shot in network marketing. He's going to throw you or take you down and put you on your butt. He doesn't care what you do for a living. So I always stayed around sports because it always kept me humble. But second to that, I always thought, hey, humility is biblical in proportion. Okay? I'm going to stay humble. Right? Now, do I have an ego? Sure I do. Okay? Why? Because I've spent 39 years doing something that I think I'm pretty good at. But when I step out of network marketing and I go to the gym, or I go to the food store, or I go to church, or I go to wherever, who cares? Follow? Like, what am I going to do? Go, hey, I'm in network marketing. I make a lot of money. Like to a cashier at Whole Foods. What does she care? Now, if I want to recruit her, that's a different conversation, follow? But I always realized, hey, don't get too caught up in yourself. You're not as important as you think you may be. And that always kept me humble. And when I get around some network marketers that have these tremendous egos, it's like, yeah. Why? Because you're good in your business. And I compare it like, if you got around people that were good accountants or good lawyers or good doctors, sure, they should have an ego and be proud of their accomplishments to be good at whatever they do. And that by the way, that includes every profession, right? I don't know what everybody does for a living here. If you're part-time in network marketing, there's great people in all sorts of different walks of life that are really, really good at what they do. Okay? Where would we be without truck drivers right now? Where would we be without school teachers? Right? Et cetera. So anyway, you got my point. Point being, just be humble, because that's going to attract more people. Humble and competent. If you want to put those two things together, be humble, be a nice person, and be confident. Because if you're those two things, people are going to follow you. If you're an egomaniac, and I've met some, and you've met some, Ramin, certainly. Personally, it just turns me on. I would want to work with those people, honestly. Okay, I want to work with people that I like and people that I would feel comfortable having as a next door neighbor. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. So just be that person. You know what I mean? Be that good person that you are, and you're going to attract people. Because the other thing is this. Think of it this way. If you were out in the ocean right now, and you were in a boat, and it's nighttime where I am, right? So it's pitch blacked out, and most of you are probably in places similar to where I am. If you looked out the window right now and you were in a boat, in the ocean, in Lake Ontario, I don't know, wherever you are, you would be looking for that light beacon that's going to guide you back to the shore successfully, because you don't want to be out in the middle of the ocean at night, let's say, if you were lost. There's a lot of lost people in the world.
Right.
They're looking for leadership. They're looking for that beacon of light.
Yeah.
They're looking for you to be a little bit of light for them, a little bit of hope for them. Follow? Okay? They're not looking for you to tell them how important you are, how much money you have, how much money you have in the bank, how many cars you have, how many houses you have. You know, Larry calls it Lamborghini bikini. Okay? They don't care about any of that crap. You know what they care about? I need an opportunity. I need to make that $500 to $1,500 a month because inflation's eating my family's lunch. I need to make some part-time money. Show me that. Be that beacon for those people. And if you're that, by the way, once they get there and they accomplish that, they'll figure out how to go to the next level of your comp plan and income. You don't need to. Once they get to that and they get the business, they'll take care of the rest. You can get out of the way and let them go. Okay? That's what they're looking for today. To me, that's what most Americans, Canadians, once again, wherever you live, that's what your friends and your neighbors are looking for. Leadership, beacon of light, hope and opportunity. Show me how to make some part-time money. Show me how to have a side gig. That's what they're looking for. And if you show them that, you don't have to tell them all that other stuff. They're going to figure out you're a great person and you're competent and all that other stuff, okay? Let them figure that out over time and come back to you and go, you know, you're really a good guy. I appreciate what you did for me. Nothing makes me happier than when I talk to somebody, you know, like Ramin, that I had a little bit of influence over at one time in his life when he was young, and he goes back and says, hey, you know, you taught me a couple things, thanks. And he's an incredibly successful guy today, okay? Not everybody's him. I got people that never got to the level that he's at, but they come back and they go, you know what, I was able to send my kid to a good school because you showed me how to make some serious part-time money, John. I appreciate that. Okay? Whatever it is. That's the greatest compliment in the world.
John made $15 million in 1 year. Damn.
Yeah.
You're stretching my imagination. He owes me a few stories. I know he's got some good stories.
Hey, I'll tell you what. On my podcast, you can hear him a couple times. And there's another couple of guys you want to listen to. I posted the podcast in my books, by the way.
Tell him where to go, John. Tell him where to go.
If you want my books, okay, Moving Up 2020, okay, I wrote that before 2020 to think of what a great year 2020 was going to be. Boy, how'd that turn out? It's a good book. and then this one here,
God is having fun with you, eh?
Oh yeah. And by the way, I know a lot of you are international. Just get the digital ones, you know, get them on your whatever, you know, whatever your reading device is. But there's a lot of stories in there, by the way. A lot of different stories, a lot of different people, a lot of different companies represented. Those are the books. Our podcast is leaving nothing to chance. And when you listen to that, you're going to hear Ramin was a guest, Larry Thompson was a guest. A lot of great guests on here, but I'll just point out a couple to you that you may want to listen to that are what I call old timers. Now, one, don't laugh. Okay, the guy's name is Ben Gay III. Now, Ben Gay III.
I know Ben Gay. When my arms are sore, we put it on it, right?
Well, yeah, that's right. It's Ben Gay III. You go to the pharmacy, you get it, or you can listen to Ben Gay, who has nothing to do with Ben Gay, the product. But Ben Gay III is a really interesting interview. When he was 27, he was the president, okay, of Holiday Magic, which was one of the early network marketing success stories as a company. He eventually left. They ran afoul of the law, et cetera, et cetera. But here's what's interesting. At 27, the owner of that company, William Penpatrick, hired Dr. Napoleon Hill, who at that stage of his life was 80, to be his mentor for 2 years. Turned out to be 2 years.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
And so he's considered to be the last living protege, Dr. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Well, go listen to that interview. There's a lot of stuff in there, right? And then you know, so that's an incredible one. A guy named Ron Henley. I did 3 interviews with Ron. One was with Ben, one was with Larry, and the other was just him and I. But Ron is the curator of the Network Marketing Historical Society in Atlanta, Georgia. He's archived all of this network marketing stuff In the 1950s, Zig Ziglar was actually like an uncle to him, believe it or not. His dad had a company here in Dallas, and Zig was one of the trainers for him when he was 5. Imagine 5 years old, you're hanging out with Zig Ziglar, right?
Yeah.
So, and here's the point, folks. When you listen to that, so I don't make any money from this stuff. My books I lose money on, to be honest with you, but I sell them because they're teaching tools. The podcast is something I pay for because I want to help people. When you hear these people's stories,
You're giving back.
take notes. Right? But take notes because they got so much to share. Dan McCormick was another great interview. There's a lot of great interviews on there. I'm not thinking of them all right now. Everybody on there is somebody who's done something. But let me share this last point because I still have little yellow sticky notes on my computer, believe it or not. I said to Ben Gay, I said, okay, 2 years with Dr. Hill. You're having lunch with Dr. Hill. He's coming to your house for dinner. You're going to his house for dinner. Like you're hanging your friends, right? I mean, you're not just business. You're your buddies, right? You're talking about the ball game you watched this weekend. I said, what 3 things did he teach you above all else? And we can close here tonight if you want, Ramin, it's up to you. He said, integrity, number 1. Focus, number 2. And taking action, number 3. And if there's nothing else I got out of that interview, and there's a lot more than that, but integrity, focus, and action. And that was in 1968 that he shared that with Ben Gay, and Ben shared it with us on the interview. Does that apply in 2022? Yeah. Will that apply with you with your kids? Yeah. Will that apply with you if you're working for the local, Little League? Yeah. Or the local hospice or the local church or synagogue or mosque or whatever. It's going to apply to everything you do in your life to always have integrity, focus, and action. If you have those 3 things, you'll build a huge business and you'll build a huge whatever else it is that's important to you.
Interesting, John, because the 3 thing, the very first one is probably the tough one that people lose very quickly, or I don't know, because so the check goes up, ego goes up all of a sudden, or they become more greedy, greed sets in, or fear sets in. All of a sudden, they start to do things, maybe try to steal some prospects or leads or switch lines or whatever. That's the part that people lose in MLM, because if you can find people who focus and take action, but I think the integrity, the first one, is the most important one.
Always, because look, if you got your integrity. One fast story. I'm about 12 years old. I'm coming home from football practice. And between the field and my house, about 2-mile bike ride at that point, right? I'm riding my bike. I got to go to the bathroom after practice. So I stop at the police station, which is on the top of this hill. Okay. And I go in, bathroom's downstairs. I go down, I use it. I find a bag. The bag's got money in it. I don't know how much money because it's not my money. I'm not going to count it. Now I can put it in my pants. And I can walk out with whatever that money is, but I know that's not my money, okay? I take the money up to a police officer, and I turn it into him, okay? I said, listen, I was in the bathroom. I found this bag of money. Thank you. Thank you. What's your name? I tell him, okay. A couple of years later, one of my first jobs, I'm working in a convenience store. The general manager of the convenience store, it turned out he was ripping off all the stores to petty cash and leave petty cash in the back. But he comes in one night. I'm a high school kid. Right? Comes in one night and he says, you stole money. I said, no, I didn't steal anything. What are you talking about? He says, you took the petty cash. I don't even know what the petty cash is. I'm working from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 3 nights a week. I don't know what the petty cash is. The manager of the store would. I'm just a high school kid. Anyway, long story short, he accused me of this. Guess what cop shows up at my parents' house? The same cop that I turned that cash into. He looked at me and he said, I know you didn't do it. And I'm denying it because I didn't do it. Okay. Well, it turns out that they found out. They marked bills at other stores, and over the next couple of weeks, they found this guy's fingerprints on the bills. They arrested him, right? What if I hadn't turned in, however much that money was to this day, I don't know. There could have been $50 in that bag, could have been $10,000. I don't know. Here's what I know. That money was somebody else's, okay? Wasn't mine. And because I showed integrity then, when it counted, a police officer knew this young man has integrity, didn't cause me a problem. What if I hadn't done that? What if it went my permanent record? I may not have been able to go to college.
Right.
Oh, that's why you always show integrity. And you show integrity not just when you're talking like this to an audience, and obviously you're on your game, but hey, you know what drives me nuts for a minute, and it probably does you too, because I've known you so long? When I watch a top distributor like humiliate a waitress or waiter, and talk to them like they're beneath them because they're waiting tables, right? Or something like that, where it's like, why would you treat somebody like that, right?
Right.
Would you treat, just be good people. If you're good people, you're going to attract good people to your business always. I want it.
You know what? Second thing just came to me. The story I talked about Piero at 73,000 a month or 74,000 a month. There was of course we're blown away by that story, and he was number 2 in that company. You were number 1. There's a guy on the call right now who actually, again, he joined after me, and he actually beat that record. He beat it close to 79,000 in this company, and he wants to say hello to you, Reza. Let's unmute Reza, and I'm sure he wants to say hello to John.
Hello. Can you hear me?
How are you? Yeah. How you been, man?
It's been a long time, John. How have you been, my friend?
Great. It's always good to see you.
Always pleasure seeing you. Congratulations on your recent belt advancement. I don't know what kind of martial arts you're doing, but I saw you're getting advancement. That's awesome. That was last year, I think, right?
Yeah. Still doing a little bit. Do a little bit of martial arts. Do a little bench pressing. Try not to hurt myself too bad on my old day.
Congratulations, brother. You're a fighter. That's awesome. Now, the only thing I want to say is that I met John my very first program, and one of the things I don't forget is we had this this special guest, a guy who owned a bunch of restaurants. He was wealthy, and we couldn't close him. I just couldn't close him. So he came to our meeting. John Solleder was a guest. It was at Chimo Hotel, I believe. And I said, John, there's this one guy here. He's all this. And he likes what we do. He likes the products, but he just doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't, can you help me with him? Okay, tell him to wait. I said, okay. I'm thinking, like, are we going to make a guy like him wait? But John was busy with the guests. He goes, tell him to wait. I'll tell you when to bring him over. I said, okay. So we brought the guy over, and John said a few things. I had some conversation. And I remember exactly, John said to the guys, you like what you see? He goes, oh, I love it. Everything sounds so good and all that. He goes, okay, so you're ready to get going, make a lot of money with it? The guy says, yeah. He goes, okay, Reza, come here. He says, get this guy in as a direct distributor right now. Once he's done getting in his application, bring him back to me so I can finish up a few things with him. I'm looking at him. I'm like, what? What? He goes, put him in as a direct, right? Nothing less. I'm like, okay. And I look at Pharaoh, Ramin Mesgarlou. I said, okay, let's go. One of us out in the corner, and I'm like, he asked for the clothes. John asked for the clothes. You like everything? Yes, I do. You're ready to make a lot of money with this? Yeah. Well, yeah, everything you share is awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what to do next. But before we get to that point, Reza put him in as a direct. And it was like that easy. I'm like, wow. So what we have to do is ask for the clothes. And that's the part that's really stuck with me. And kind of like I gravitated towards that style, right to the point, once you finish doing that stuff. That's awesome, John. That's great to see that, so many lives have been touched over the years. And, you're truly a champ and a warrior. And you know what? Love you and love what you do. And thanks for being on the call tonight, brother.
Well, likewise, love you, love your family, and know your mom all these years too, and you guys are you've done a great job with your business, and most importantly, you've done a great job in building people around the world, and just keep doing it because the world needs it. The world needs hope right now. Yeah. You watch the news. Don't watch the news, would be my suggestion. But you watch the news, right? We all fall into it, whether it's on our phone or we see it. You have something to offer people that they need right now, which is hope, opportunity. Take advantage of it. Okay, you're not taking advantage of people by sharing an opportunity. If it's for them, great. If it's not for them, they'll make that decision. But right now, we got to be those beacons in the harbor to people because there's not a lot out there. Certainly not a lot in government. there is no leadership in government around the world right now. It's all pretty weak, frankly. And at the end of the day, you be that light to people. You be that hope and opportunity to people to tell them, hey, you know what? Let's do something together. And let's lock arms and do it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not going to desert you, take your money and run. I don't need your money that badly. You don't need their money that badly. Tell them, hey, listen, we're going to do this thing together. You're going to get in here. We're going to lock arms. I'm going to show you everything I know how to do to the best of my ability. You be a good student. I'll be a good teacher. And let's go to work and make some money together. And most importantly, let's have some fun. And then let's share with some other people that also need some hope right now.
John, look, we could do this all night, my friend. It was so awesome. You know, the old school way, and I'm an old school guy myself. And listen, we got to do this again, my friend. We got to do this again. It's, I want to, you know what? We got to hang, man. When you come to Canada, I know you text us now. You're going to come to Canada. You got to come by, stay over, come down with the family. It's, guys, everybody, I don't, you know me, after 17 years, I do not direct you to anywhere because of what John said. There's too many experts out there never build anything. But I did put this in the WhatsApp chat group, his new YouTube channel. I said, go follow him because I know him. I've known him for a long time. I know he's for real, and I know he's got integrity. So with that, John, your closing remarks. And I'm going to quickly say, guys, I'm going to get on the road starting next week. St. Martin, watch out. I'm going to head to Bermuda, South Korea. There are different places. So we're going to be doing a lot of that a little bit later on. With that, John, I want you to close it up.
Hey, listen, everybody, just remember, look, you got an opportunity in front of you, okay? You got something people need in front of you. You got something that people want. They may not know that they want from you until you tell them about it. They're only going to know what they're saying yes or no to if you tell them about it. Tell people about it. Be that beacon. Be that hope. Be that leader. Lead from the front of the room. One thing we didn't get into tonight is some leadership stuff. Well, I'll tell you what. If you have a contest, and I know these guys a long time. I know they have contests of all sorts of things, whether it's trip incentives or money incentives or product incentives, whatever it is. Always make sure that you're qualified for it. Okay? There's one thing I did learn along the way. Your people are going to do what you do. If they look on the company's message board and the company says, hey, all these people qualified to go to wherever, Timbuktu, you better have your name on there because your people are going to look at that. Well, where's my upline? My upline's telling me to qualify. Well, where are they? Okay? So lead from the front always, the best of your ability. Okay? Lead from the front. And if you do that once again, hey, you're going to build a successful business. You're going to be successful in your business for you and for your family. You're going to create jobs for other people. Okay, that's what I was saying. I don't think I cut off or not when we froze up with the Zoom. But you're job creators too. This is really important. Okay, we think we join a business for us. If we have a family, wife, husband, kids, our family, our nuclear family, so to speak. But then we want to build in our community and help the people in our community to grow their business, et cetera, et cetera. That's important. But here's the other thing that we don't think of until we really are in network marketing a long time. All the products that you sell in your company, okay, they start somewhere. They're sourced somewhere. They're manufactured. Whoever's doing the sourcing of those materials and building those products that you take to market, you're creating jobs for those people. By you getting to be really, really good at what you do, and you building a business for you and your family, guess what happens? You create lots of jobs along the food chain. Follow? So all those truckers, all those UPS drivers, FedEx drivers, postal employees, people in the warehouses, not only in your company, but whoever's building your products for your company, you're helping to create jobs, okay? That's one of the greatest things you can do. Look, I love sports. Ramin and I love wrestling and a couple other sports. Love judo. Love a couple other sports as well. Athletes have never been my heroes. There's a few that are and deserve to be. But you know what my heroes have always been? Entrepreneurs. Why? Because they create jobs for other people and opportunities for other people. You as a macro entrepreneur that gets successful in your business, you create countless jobs for people you're never going to see. You're never going to know. They're probably never going to know your name. You're probably never going to know their name. Well, believe me, those people appreciate you along the food chain. By you getting really good at what you do to take care of your family's needs, you're creating a lot of things for other people. Don't ever forget that.
Wow, thank you, John. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, John. All right, Efra, our $40,000 a month young lady who just joined us, take us home.
Wow. What a following up on Zoom, on YouTube, on WhatsApp chats, everything. I love it. Thank you so much. Of course, our CEO and founder, who's here for us every single Tuesday. I don't even know any other CEO in the world who's able to do that every week. We have that fireside chat, one-on-one, and of course our amazing special guest, none other than John Solleder. Thank you. It's been an honor and pleasure sitting here listening in. I've been in MLM only for 4 years, and what an honor to sit here. 39 years of experience, 32 years of experience, and same with Reza, our top millionaire. I love it. I love it. I have written so much, so many golden nuggets, but the one thing that I will take home is what you said at the end, which is you got something that people need and want. So go out there and be that beacon of hope. So can we all agree? Can we all take an oath? Starting today, we're all going to go out there and be that beacon of hope. I take the oath right here in front of all of you. Again, thank you so much, our Opolis Nation from around the world. Thank you to everybody that's watching on YouTube, on Zoom. And just a final reminder, our Build Assist promotion ends in 2 hours. That's right, in 2 hours. So make sure, yes, I'm typing to the minute. 2 hours. Make sure that you go out there and get your fountain of life. Give that gift, right? The same hope that John spoke about is the hope that we're giving with Fountain of Life. So go out there, grab yours. And of course, a final reminder as well for our next call is this Saturday. I believe it will be myself again on the spot. So watch out for the flyer. It'll be coming out, our Saturday live training at 10 a.m. Eastern. And with that, I leave you all with an amazing good morning, good evening, good night, and stay forensic and to the billion.
To the billion. And you might as well win.
Yes, all win.
Thanks, guys. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Ramin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Reza.
Bye-bye.
Recording stop.
All right, YouTube, Zoom is off, and I know you enjoyed it. I did too. Might as well win. Well, thanks for staying up. I know it's late for some of you guys. Well, an awesome call. We all grew tonight, and that's our job every week. Stay forensic and to the billion.